One, we're on. Ido Samuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. This edition is an actor's edition on Play It Forward. You've acted in more films, but these two films particularly that we'll be discussing, two short films. The first is Dirty Bomb, that's your most recent work. And then Ben-Dod Sheli is...
Ib Rewards for my cousin.
Yeah, that's right. I looked it up thanks to Translate and found that out. Two films, great productions, great messages, and they're very interesting because they're also both related. So before we dive into the film, Ido, I just want to give you a minute to share whatever you'd like about yourself, your experience, your beliefs in art and filmmaking, whatever you'd like.
Yeah. Well, as being an actor, I'm very picky with my projects that I pick. I usually only want to do projects that really have a message and have something more than that. And I love working with filmmakers who have a story to tell and have stories that never been told. Because, you know, right now we see a lot of film that being remakes and being like doing in a different version. But I feel there are so many stories that needs to be told and needs to be told in an original way. So every time I find a new script or a new story, or find like a new filmmaker like that has a new vision of how to make film, like that's my approach, and that's how I love to get into stuff like that.
That's very cool. I mean, that's definitely right up our alley, the mission of the show and the mission of Digipops TV behind the show. So we're really looking to diversify the voices and the types of stories and the meaningful, rich stories that are out there. And because there is so much creativity, there is so much talent, and short films allow a genre and a medium of creating those short films that are sustainable on budgets and where filmmakers can take risks, and the people that support the filmmaking process can take risks. And right now, you know, the big studios, the big five and the six minis, I think it's the big five and the six minis, and maybe it's the other way. But essentially, those 11 studios and the conglomerates that they own, they can't risk on originality. Very, very few are able to do that on few stories, you know, one or two a year compared to
That's the thing. I feel that they can risk.
Yeah.
They don't want to risk. That's the problem. I can understand like people don't have the budget or stuff like that. It's hard for them to risk, but
yeah,
with the big budget, just want to play safe and just, I feel, make films to make money, not to tell stories.
Well, that's the point. That's, you know, that's why I say, I mean, of course they have the budget to risk, but they're averse to risk because their fundamental goal is being in business and making money and profits and boards, and you know, the creative content is it comes secondary essentially, and they're not able to support the wealth of voices that there are. So there's just such a great, you know, if you haven't seen it, I'll share it with you off the show. There's a great quote that Francis Ford Coppola made in the documentary about the apocalypse now. It's called The Heart of Darkness. And he basically talks about, you know, this great proliferation of creativity that he envisioned with the 8mm camera. And that's never happened, you know, but today's day and age, both production and distribution is within the means of the artist. And that's the change that we're looking to promote here. And so it's just music to my ears, and it's wonderful that, you know, you as an artist, as an actor, prioritize that most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can do a lot of films, but if you feel like you haven't done actually something artistic to fill your soul, you feel bad and you feel empty. Okay, so
right.
I did a movie, I did another blockbuster, but then again, what have I done with my career? You know?
Exactly. What's the point? You know, why not just, you know, go out there and slug away making money with the rest of the guys?
Yeah.
Well, so to the first point of the show is, what was your inspiration for Ben-Dod Sheli as well as Dirty Bomb? And you've already touched upon it a little bit. And if I could preface before you answer, both films thematically. So one is essentially Dirty Bomb takes place in a Holocaust concentration camp, and it's essentially a movie about the individual risking their life for the greater good. And of course, please amend any of these summaries or synopsises of these movies. And the one, Ben-Dod Sheli, is very interesting because it's essentially about the same theme of hate and violence through hate, but in more modern context within the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And the film is, translated to My Cousin, right? And that's a play on the cousins that are in the movie. On the levels of cousins, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because cousins are also like the Hebrews, and they're Arabs. In the Bible, we used to be cousins, so it's the cousin with the American cousin, but also with the Palestinian. So we all like related. So that's
yeah, and we're still cousins. Our bloodline is still there, and all of us human are cousins in one way, shape, or the other. But particularly, within this conflict within this family conflict, the theme is a little different than the first movie. It's essentially this mutual violence. The individual. So there's an individual. One of the cousins, Israeli cousins, does not sacrifice his life or well-being for the other cousin, and he instead saves his own life. And interestingly enough, that leads to a mutual destruction. I don't know if that's necessarily the message of the film. I understand that, hey, this sibling rivalry essentially is an area where nobody wins. But just comparing it to Dirty Bomb, where it's a clear case of one person surrendering their life for the greater good. And here is a similar movie in a similar context. The person does not. And the outcome is very different. So anyway, what do you think of that? Those are the films. Please feel free to, help me out with those themes, and then give me your take on the inspiration, please.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think both films are very different. I think also the message, yes, it's based both of them about hatred and what hatred can do. I think Ben-Dod Sheli, My Cousin, the message is more about the circle of revenge, so the Israeli cousin suffered stuff in his personal life. He lost his best friend, he lost like his neighbors, got murdered by a Palestinian, and he feels the need to revenge what he's going through, and he feel like he have to protect his ideas, because what he sees like in the world, like everybody is, now a Palestinian suffer, and it's all be with the Palestinian. The Israelis are the bad people, and the Palestinian guy in the movie suffered in the same way from his position. Like his friends also got murdered by Israelis, and he's also want to revenge their death. He also wants to revenge. So it's a circle of revenge, and the cousin, the American cousin, he's like the observer of all of it. He doesn't know. He doesn't have the feeling that, or the intensity that both of them have. He just got into the situation. He's kind of like the viewer watching both sides of the stories try to protect their own ideas.
But however, he does want to enlist in the Israeli army, doesn't he?
What? Yeah, he wants to enlist because it doesn't say so in the final version of the film, but the story was also that it said also, because I said a little bit in the movie, his dad also came to the U.S., the American cousin dad came to the U.S. to help the Palestinians, to help them, and then he got killed by a suicide bomber. So the American cousin also wanted kind of to go to enlist with the Israeli army and kind of protect whatever the Israeli country and whatever his dad died because of that. So that's why he wants to enlist.
Yeah, thanks for that further exposition. So I mean, essentially, it is, as you've just said, there is this cycle of vengeance and brutality and violence, and it does end up, both sides losing. As
a little spoiler for the movie, because you saw that at the end, So the message at the end that the circle of revenge can always go on and on and on. But then at the end of the day, just both of us on the same land, and we need to solve it between us. Like no one else, all the innocent people around us dies. But all the innocent people around us dies, and it's just the both of us like in the same land, stuck with each other, and we just need to talk it and go through this, because the circle of revenge, anybody get killed, then his family wants to revenge, then his friends want to revenge, and it can go on and on for years.
Yeah, yeah. And Ido, you, we didn't mention, but you are an Israeli actor. Are you currently living in Israel?
Yeah, no, I live in LA.
You're in LA, but you were born and raised in Israel?
Yeah.
So obviously it's a very familiar story to you.
Yes.
So in terms of your inspiration, what was it?
It's first of all the filmmaker Daniel Yonatan, the director. I met him. I saw a few of his films, and he's a very original filmmaker. His approach to filmmaking is very unique, and he loves working with actors, which I really appreciate about directors. And he's open for a dialogue. And so first of all, I wanted to work with them. Second of all, about the story. I fear also the Palestinian had the same fear. The other actor is really Palestinian also, and we both have kind of the same fear that like our countries will be put in a bad situation. Like I not wanted to protect that, but I was also wanted to give the message about that we need to end it. I know it's very easy to say and it's very hard to do, but the first thing to do, like because I worked with a Palestinian actor when we got along, both of us, most of everybody else on set, and we got each other jokes more than it's like we felt the closest.
Yeah.
And, I felt it was quite an experience to do this film, and we shot actually in Santa Clarita, in California, not in Israel. We both tried to make the set and everything look like Israel together. So I feel like working together was a very easy way to see that we can actually get along together. That's what I want to do the most.
That's a beautiful experience. I mean, that's a beautiful opportunity, and of course, you guys started with the same goal in mind, which is to collaborate.
Yeah, because I remember the director told me when a Palestinian actor came to audition, the original script was we're just getting kidnapped, but the Palestinian said like he doesn't want to play the terrorist. He wanted at least to explain why he's doing what he's doing. But then my point of view was like, okay, so I want to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then he let us like mostly improvise during the car scene.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that came out really well.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it was like one of the best experiences I've had.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really meaningful. I think for actors and directors, and in terms of your motivation as well. I mean, you wanted to humanize your character to give him depth, and he wanted to do the same. And the director allowed the dialogue to happen for you guys to do that, and that created a better, more collaborative work of art.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So in terms of the messages of the two films, I think we definitely covered, some of it, but what do you think each is?
Yeah, about Dirty Bomb, I didn't speak about that so much. In Dirty Bomb, first of all, it's a story that I never heard before. And being from Israel, every year there's a Holocaust Day, and we used to bring like Holocaust survivors to our school and telling their stories. And every year you hear a story that you never believed that can happen. And every time you get shocked. So we feel like we heard like so many stories already, and then yeah, but then they keep on coming, and then Valerie, the director, told me about the story before she wrote the script, and said, "Oh my God, I never heard of it before." And we have to tell the story because it's an amazing thing. It's 200 people in the lowest place dealing with the worst kind of people to save thousands and thousands of lives, and they could have survived. But still they decided to sacrifice their lives, and they knew they're going to die if they're going to sabotage the bomb, because every prisoner that sabotaged the bomb had his number on the bomb. So the Nazis knew exactly why the bomb didn't explode, and so they hang him, all the other prisoners. They kept on sabotaging, and like 200 people saved thousands of lives, and nobody knows about it. So, and I feel like this generation is very influenced by films, and unfortunately, we don't have so many Holocaust survivors to tell their stories anymore, and a lot of people started to deny the Holocaust, which is horrible. And I feel the best way to reach people is through films and to teach people about what happened and what could happen again, and what one person can do, and the impact of one person is so big. So this is the message of the film.
So, yeah, in terms of particularly that one person can make a difference. Yeah. And what about Ben-Dod Sheli? Is that a closer approximation to the way it's pronounced?
Yeah, Ben-Dod Sheli.
Ben-Dod Sheli.
Ben-Dod Sheli, yeah, it's about, like I said, it's about the circle of revenge, and at the end of the day, it can go on, and it just needs to stop, and someone needs to take the first step to stop it and to say, okay, I've been through a lot, but I'm willing to sacrifice my own personal need to revenge. And I understand everyone that suffered something, and how do they feel like, okay, if I'm gonna like reach out to my enemy, I'm gonna like let all my loved ones who died, I'm gonna let them down. But sometimes it just needs to end, because it can go on, and more people will suffer.
That's what's really interesting, and how the two films seem connected now, actually, is that, you know, in one film, one is sacrificing their personal need for hate and revenge, and in the other one is giving their life for the cause to save others. And you know, it's very related, and there is both this idea of taking the high road, and the high road being the more noble path to creating a more socially just, peaceful world. Yeah. So, with that said, you know, going right into the last question and of Play Forward is, how have you changed as a person, as a filmmaker, as an actor, after having these two experiences?
Yeah, so like I was started to say about Ben-Dod Sheli, I never worked with Palestinians before, and I had my perceptions of how they're like, and how it's going to be like, and when I actually worked with them, I saw that we felt the closest one from everybody else on set, and my views, and I felt more open after that, and exactly like the message of the film, like we hang out later. He also lives in LA, and that was my personal experience from that. It's just like working with, quote unquote, like the enemy, you know.
Sure.
Dirty Bomb was a very powerful experience for me. Before we shot, we also met with a Holocaust survivor who was in the same camp, and he told me his personal story, and let me ask him a lot of like hard questions, but was very open to that, because imagining myself in a situation like that, I would just end my life. I don't know why should I continue living?
Yeah, how do you survive?
Yeah, so I asked him this difficult question, like what made him keep going? And he told me like just the basic survival mode that he was in, because he was just waiting for food, and the starvation was so powerful and took over everything in his body, that's all that he thought about. And he had a brother on the same camp and with a different position as him. So he got fed more than his brother. He got fed only like twice a week, but it was a lot more than his brother. So he used to keep a little bit of the bread that he got and gave it to his brother. And he knew that if he's going to end his life, then his brother won't be able to eat and also will die. So that was a very powerful, just meeting him was a very powerful experience for me. And
Can't even imagine.
You know, after hearing all the stories and all the documentaries I saw before that, and all the films I saw before that, it was very, very powerful for me as an actor and as a human being.
Yeah. How do you think, I mean, I would think that makes you a deeper, more rich person that has, you know, their focus more on the things that matter. most to people. So that's my assumption. How were you changed?
I feel like once you in the story that you want to tell, it's easy to explain to people about the story and about what one person can do. So I feel like as a person, you know, it's very easy now to just sit at home and just like the most you can do is write a Facebook status about something and feel like, oh, I did something. No, you need to physically do stuff if you want to change stuff. And it's very easy for history to return, to come back, and to evil to win if like one person doesn't do anything about it. So I feel like every time I see something now wrongdoing, I take out and I try to actually do something against it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like, you know, being proactive and taking initiative and helping wherever you can. Yeah, not being passive. Yeah, that's, you know, an amazing change for the better. In terms of the set and your experience, and you know, I think it's interesting for me, and it's really important for directors of all, you know, shapes, sizes, and skill levels and experience levels to really work with actors. I mean, you know, as great as the bells and whistles in any production might be, that's a fundamental aspect of truth telling, right? Is your story truthful in the sense of, um, you know, as experience through your actors? And that is essentially the job of the director, to keep that truth and that vision in line with everything else that, you know, goes into filmmaking. So, what advice would you give, or what is have been the most influential and important things that a director has done with you, or the way that you've worked with a director that you think is important to pass on to others?
For Ben-Dod Sheli, Daniel was very open and very trusting of his actor. He had the script, but he said like, okay, I have the script, but just papers. So I want you to live in the moment, and it gave us freedom to just be in the moment and just whatever we want to say, let us say that. And to have the director's confidence in an actor helps the actor, I feel, uh, be more in the moment and just live it. And I think when you stick to the lines too much, it can be very robotic sometimes. So to have the confidence and to have a dialogue with the director, because both Valerie McCaffrey, the director of Dirty Bomb, and Daniel Jonathan, director of Ben-Dod Sheli, I felt had no ego. And whenever I had a suggestion, I felt like I'm a part of the filmmaking of the film, or just a puppet. So they let me be a part of it. And when I had a suggestion, like for Dirty Bomb, the song that I sing, it wasn't on the script, but while I was on the set and I was on the bed, I feel like I need something else to add to the story, and you can add it wherever you want. So she let me told me, yeah, do whatever you want. Let the camera roll. So that's how the song came to be in the movie. Same with inside the car. He read a few lines, but he just said, "Okay, now I'm just going to be with my camera and just be in the moment, and I'll go with my camera." And like after like let's say I felt like I needed something else after we shot, say, "Okay, I'm going to shoot from a different angle. Just do what you want, and just let us have the freedom." And I feel like this is very important part of filmmaking. Let the actor feel like he's a part of the process and not just a robot or puppet to say the lines.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely makes sense, and I think, you know, one of the most important things, you know, that he said is that egoless, collaborative mindset, you know, and as well as giving people freedom and input. You know, one of the things that I often, or at least in the past, I've, you know, struggled with, or perhaps wanted to refine, is this idea of adjustment. You know, when you see an actor that you know can do it, but for whatever reason they're holding back, they're not there, and they need something to get them over the hump.
Right.
And as an actor, it's, you know, it's I mean, your canvas is your soul, and you're exposing it in front of a, you know, fabricated environment, and you're trying to, you know, simulate reality. And when that's successful, it becomes reality, and that's captured on camera. So, I mean, I just say that because it's like, wow, man, it's such a challenging thing to do. So, with all respect for that process, you know, your actor needs a little something. Um, what would you suggest in that?
I'll suggest less is more. So, for example, in Ben-Dod Sheli, back in the auditions, uh, I took it as real as I could. Like, how would I react when I get kidnapped? And it's the opposite of what you see in the film. Because I would imagine I get kidnapped, I'll be scared, I'll just be quiet because I don't want to be killed. But then the director, because I guess he wanted every character to be different, and the character of my cousin is the quiet one, so he wanted mine to be very loud and very aggressive, which is very different than the way I am. So he just told me like, I need you to be more aggressive and more in his face. That's it. And I encounter directors to does the opposite and just explain to me why I'm aggressive and why I need to do it and how I need to do it. And the worst, of course, is like showing me how to do it. And I feel like sometimes if you can explain to an actor in a word or two, it's enough. If you see it doesn't work, you can explain to him a little bit, but try with a little explanation as you can. Because sometimes when the director explains you a lot of stuff, he gets lost and you get lost in the explanation, and then it just do mathematically what should I do and how should I feel. And sometimes like one word can do a lot with it. And with Dirty Bomb, sometimes Valerie, the director, she knows also my personal stories, so she just put a little bit every time she saw that I needed to connect more. So she gave me a little bit of my personal story, and she gave me names of someone for my family and for my life, just to remind me how would I feel if I was in this situation, even though it's not exactly the same situation, but the emotional connection. So I feel like every film is differently, and of course every actor reacts differently to acting directions, and every director likes to work differently. But my biggest advice for like director is less is more, and as little as you can say to affect the actor, it's better.
No, that's a great advice. That's a great suggestion. Have you worked with any directors that have just told you to hold this thought in your head?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And you do, and you know, sometimes I feel, especially for films, sometimes you don't need to think exactly of what's going on because the camera is so close. Sometimes with close-ups, you can think of nothing, and it can translate like to the viewer can translate to whatever he sees in the film to, oh wow, he's thinking about this and this and this, and you can think about like, oh wow, I'm really thirsty, you know. Because sometimes when you're forcing a thought, I see it like affecting some actors. Like, oh, I mean, let's say I'm in the Holocaust now. I've been through a lot. I just got my family killed, but then they act instead of like just letting them be. Because someone who's, let's say, a prisoner in the Holocaust doesn't think about, oh, I'm in the Holocaust. He thinks about
Well,
like.
I
Yeah.
don't. Thanks for letting me interrupt you. I don't mean it quite that way, Ido. I mean it in the sense of like, I'm not sure where I read this. It was, I think maybe Judith Weston. She, I think it's her. I could be wrong. Anyway, teacher of acting said that acting is thinking aloud.
Yeah.
So when you're actually in the process, not trying to, you know, concept I am X or Y or Z, but you are having your own thought process like normal humans do when they're interacting with other humans. Yeah, that's really what I meant.
Yeah, it's like what the other person says and what do I feel about it.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I want to say before I say it?
Right. Or what are you not saying that, you know, you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Ido Samuel, Ido Samuel, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your opening up. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your great advice and enriching the conversation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Honor to have you on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I look forward to staying abreast and hearing more of your work. So please keep us posted.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right. Cool, man. Later.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave us a like and or a comment below. It makes a big difference. Play It Forward is brought to you by Digipops, where we're building a community to put film and filmmaker discovery in your hands. Here, filmmakers and fans recognize each other fairly and transparently through a community-curated film festival. It's coming soon, and your feedback helps us build it and make it a reality. We'll keep you posted. Thank you.